welcome into the Curler's Corner Autumn Gold Curling Classic 2023. I am Lisa Parent, and I'm here with Jack Moss.
Hello, everyone. This is the 45th Autumn Gold, and it's sponsored by Curler's Corner. Tonight we're featuring Team Tabitha Peterson and Sung Yeon Ha. It should be a barn burner tonight. In the draw to the button, Peterson's team pinned it 3 times in a row. So they appear to be ready for this match. Been some really good games so far, and we're expecting a really close one in this one.
That's always a little bit intimidating, seeing the other team pin 3 draws in a row. That's got to kind of kill some confidence at the start of the game, no?
The only downside is they might have worn out their sweepers a bit.
All right, so we've got Ha throwing first here, Peterson with the hammer. And the ice might be a little bit keen after that practice, throwing that first one through the rings.
Ha's team has lead Sujin Kim, second is Tai Yang, third is Hiren Kim.
All right, and on Peterson's team, we got Tabitha Peterson, obviously at skip there. Oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be any good with these names, Jack. Third, we've got Corey Thies. Second, we've got Rebecca Hamilton, and lead Tara Peterson.
Perfect.
And way back in 2021, this was the team that took the cake, hey?
That's right, I recall that well. Lainey Peters was coaching them at that time. They look like they're in fine form again this year. They've stumbled once.
Big.
So Jack, since we're just at the beginning of this live stream, tell me a little bit about yourself so the viewers know who they're listening to.
Well, I started curling about the same year that they invented granite. So I've been around a long time. I started curling actually in this club, not in this building, because the old building burned down, and played here for many, many years. And now I play out of the Glencoe Club. And you have a curling pedigree too.
Yeah, I've curled out of this club for a while now. I started out of the North Hill Curling Club. I haven't done anything crazy, just some provincials, and I placed third at provincials one year, junior provincials, and Jack here coached my team for a couple of years. Just recently actually stopped curling this year, but sitting here watching all these ladies out here makes me miss it for sure. All right.
So Peterson's sitting pretty well. They've got one in the top of the forefoot, and they've got a corner guard. They've got a pretty good setup here for a 2 if things work out the way that they should at this point. But I have to say this Ha team is very, very talented. They're a young team.
Wow, beautiful hit and
What
roll
the heck?
by their second.
Corner freeze to it?
So just in front of the tee line, but it does give Peterson the opportunity to freeze to it. Put them in good shape.
And judging by their draw to the button, seems like this team has pretty good draw weight, and I believe their second would have thrown one of those draw to the pins, hey? Would have gone probably most likely skip, third, second. Could have been the lead. All right, and this is second for Team Peterson, Rebecca Hamilton throwing this stone.
We've seen her on television a lot.
Just a few times.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to overcurl here a little bit. Not a horrible outcome.
No. No, it's going pretty much the way you would expect with the miss on the first rock. Get a corner guard up, a rock in the rings. Ha's team would like to play with the rocks in the rings and see if they can't get rid of that corner guard eventually.
Maybe it is a little curly.
One of the big things with curling is the communication that's required between the teams.
And this team is loud. This team is loud. Which is awesome because I know for sure when you have eight sheets of play out on the ice, it can be really, really tough to hear your teammates. So you got to yell.
And it's important that everybody knows what everybody else on the team is doing. We always stress communication first and foremost with our teams. And communication means being able to say things without indicating any kind of blame or fault. And things have to be said that way and they have to be taken that way. And that's the way that you can make improvements on the team. If teams are trying to be too careful about not hurting anyone's feelings, then they don't communicate the proper information.
So I don't know if that's a great spot to roll to for Rebecca there, their second. They almost Christmas treed that red rock there. Might have a pretty simple run back on that top yellow, but...
So it looks like Haw was considering either freezing to the one Peterson just threw or splitting the house, which is what she's doing now. Splitting the house would mean that she's hoping to force a single.
I like this shot. I think, you know, try and force them to kind of play your game, right? You don't want to... You know, if they're going to make that run back, they're going to make that run back, and you're still going to have that red rock on the wings there. So I think this is a good way to force Peterson to a single here.
Well, and the team should have a strategy going into the first end and every end after that too. But a strategy going into the first end and a backup strategy in case things don't go their way, such as throwing the first one through. So sometimes they'll be ultra aggressive. Sometimes they'll be a bit more cautious. Usually at this level, they'll play fairly cautiously unless they get a good chance. They want to take too many chances early if there's a risk of giving up a couple.
All right, and you just saw third Corey Thies throw that hit and roll over. Now we may have to do some imagining here with this Team Hawk because we don't quite know what they're saying, but it looks like they're playing the nose hit on this one.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm not that fluent in Korean.
No. We'll have to, hopefully there's some fans in the chat. I know we did this a couple years ago. We had the fans translating for us, which was actually a really great help having those translations, just to kind of see what's in their minds, right? Because that's why we have them mic'd up in the first place.
And Peterson's got a break because the rock is behind the tee line, so that's advantage to her. Little hit and a roll behind. Be very tough for Haw to get it out. Force her into a tough shot, maybe a freeze. These players all throw the rock so well.
Oh yeah, very positive, and you've seen that across the board. It's all very positive releases, and they actually did sharpen the rocks before this event. They do almost every single year, so they have a little bit of bite on them.
I was chatting with some of the players. They were really enjoying the ice. The speed is pretty good. One player told me it was about 14.8 with quite a bit of curl and a couple of little tricks in there, which is good for a team that reads the ice well. That would be an advantage to them. But I haven't seen anything that was very glaring. Like there doesn't seem to be any falls in it or anything.
I think that we had one pick in the Skrlik Hunkin game last draw. There's one pick, but other than that, the ice seems awesome, like super clean, consistent for the most part.
In the Varnes game earlier, as an example, the ice is so good they can call those very precise shots. Varnes made this fantastic 15-foot raise double takeout in the 8th end. It was just a real peach.
Now, I don't want to skip out on that beautiful hit and roll by Peterson here, this last rock, that just a tuck underneath, and that was their third that threw that, Corey. That was a beautiful hit and roll, and that's probably the third made hit and roll I've seen this end.
Yeah, very precise. It forces high into a very tough shot.
Now, what's the call here? I didn't quite see.
I think she's playing just the freeze. If she makes it perfectly, it'd be a very good force or a good chance to steal. They're going hard on it. A little quiet, maybe.
Really good sweep by the front end there.
Okay, a conservative shot here, but an obvious shot to sit two, give her a very good chance for a two. She'd want to put this directly across from the other one, just behind the tee line. That would be her best chance.
You see the sweepers taking their jackets off already. After that big sweep. Now we've got Megan Edwards in the chat. Hi, Megan. She's been in almost every single one of our games, I think. She's in every game, yeah. I think she must have 5 screens going at the same time, watching every single curling game out there. I don't think there's a bigger curling fan than her, so.
You gotta love it.
That's right, she says.
So Peterson's away nicely. You're just cleaning the rock. Pretty happy with the weight. I'm enjoying the changes that have been made to the sweeping techniques in the last few years.
I've been so impressed, especially by women's sweeping lately. I think obviously Joanne Courtney kind of paved the way in a lot of senses, kind of proving the point that, you know, women can be good sweepers, and it's all about technique. Obviously, Joanne is a very strong lady as well, but at the end of the day, you could be small. I'm short. As long as you have the right technique, you're cruising. So, yeah, I'm very impressed with the sweeping, and both of these teams are awesome sweepers.
And you are a very good sweeper.
Thanks,
And
Jack.
Biggest part of that is technique.
I'm fishing for compliments.
But body mass plays a role in that too.
It
It's
does.
pretty hard for somebody like some of these ladies out here that are 100 pounds to outsweep somebody like Ben Hebert, who's significantly more. But what they can do, though, is with technique. There's a correlation between the speed of your sweeping and effectiveness and the pressure that you put on the broom. So there's a certain point where just the pressure alone with a little bit of movement is going to be something that is very, very significant. But you can make up for the lack of pressure with a quicker sweeping motion. But it does take some of both.
So we're seeing a call double. Is that what we're seeing right now?
We are.
Cross the house double.
Peterson was just a little bit shorter, I think, than she wanted to be on that one and left this chance for a double. If she'd have been back to the tee line, she'd probably been happier with that shot. Not an easy shot.
Quite a bit of weight here with this in turn.
Yeah, playing
Across
the
the
in-turn.
face.
She wants to hit it pretty thin. She got a good chance to stick back there.
Oh, looks like just a little bit overswept there.
Yeah, a little bit thick on that rock. From here, it looks like yellow would be second shot.
That's what I'm thinking, and unfortunately we don't have an overhead camera view. It's just not in our setup right now, but we can always guess, and it definitely does look like yellow is sitting a bit closer there. And judging by the ease of Team Peterson right now, how confident they're looking, it looks like they're probably going to grab a 2 here. Just an out-turn soft weight hit from Tabitha.
Okay.
Oh yeah, yellow's definitely shot.
And a good shot, sit 2. So Peterson 2 after the first end.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break here. And we'll get back into the second end. Yes, again, Peterson up 2-0 on Hog going into the second. All right, we are back into the second end. Team Ha and Team Peterson.
Covering the pin, you've got to think they've been doing that on purpose here. So they want to play with rocks and rings. They're not going to think of protecting that 2-point lead throughout the game, I wouldn't think. But they want to take things easy now and wait for a good chance.
Some teams will do that. Some teams will hang on to those 2-3 points that they get early in the game, that early lead, and just hang on to that for dear life. I find when I was in juniors, a lot of junior teams played that way, but we're realizing, especially with the no-tick rule, the 5-rock rule, you can't really do that because the other team will catch back up and they will get you.
Okay, and Ha's not falling for it. She calls her quarter guard. Tara Peterson throwing to guard the rock that she just threw. It's pretty formulaic, really, at this particular point.
And I'm seeing in the comment section here, we've got Steve Manfred. He says that Team Ha won the U.S. Open of curling, which included Peterson's team in 2022. But then Peterson won it this year, but Ha wasn't there to defend their title. So maybe a little bit of a rivalry going on between these two teams, maybe really close in skill level. I haven't gotten a really good chance to watch a lot of Ha's play. I've seen obviously a little bit of Peterson's. They've been here before and won it, but that's very interesting information.
Well, and Ha has quite a bit of world experience. She played, if I'm not mistaken, she played with Team Kim in the past, which was a Korean team, I believe, that was involved in the controversy with a abusive coach. But maybe somebody can fill me in on that if I'm mistaken.
Wow, another crazy hit and roll by Team Ha here. I don't think I've seen so many hit and rolls be made, and obviously there's the piece peeking out there behind that guard, but that's pretty darn close to perfect.
And so they're in a good position here with the rock just behind the tee line.
Rebecca Hamilton here.
If Becca makes this shot, they'll have a chance. I will have a chance to freeze to it behind their corner guard. Likely what they would do. There's the free guard.
So a little bit about Rebecca Hamilton here. She is from Wisconsin, actually. A two-time national women's champion, a two-time national junior champion, and a two-time Olympian. And you know what? There's a lot of twos in there.
Yeah.
And Peterson has won the Autumn Gold before. So I'm thinking that she's due to win for a second time with all those twos. Two must be her lucky number.
Might be an omen. Of course, her brother has curled some too, and the two of them have curled together very successfully.
And since we're giving Peterson so many shout-outs here, we might as well give Team Ha some shout-outs. I don't know a lot about this team. I do have some information on the skip here. Ha, actually joined Team Kim in 2019, reached the final of the 2019 Korean Curling Championships. In the 2022 Korean Curling Championships, Ha's team won and earned the national team spot for that season. So pretty successful team.
And I think that was a big upset too. I think they were probably third-ranked team at that time. The quality of the international field is phenomenal. It's a tough, tough grind. There's so much commitment that it takes for these athletes to perform at this level.
Absolutely. Not a bad shot.
Okay, that worked out okay, but Ha is still working on their deuce.
Yeah, I'm thinking they wanted to scooch one of those reds out from under the guard there, but at least it's theirs now. Able to run back if they need to.
She's saying, and I'm just guessing here, keep it over to the side in front of the tee line.
I would guess that you're right, Jack. That's what I would have said too.
라인 그대로. 아니 라인 그대로야. 라인 좋아. 계속 클린해. 붙어 있어. 7. 라인 좋아. 라인 좋아. 수진아님 클린만. 아. 13초 오늘 왜 이렇게 안 나오냐?
Not a bad shot there from Team Ha. I believe that was second stones. Put it in a good spot, forcing Team Peterson to chase to that open side, which is always ideal when you have the hammer.
오케이. 슈터 사는 게 먼저.
Okay, we just confirmed the coach is Kathy Overton Clapham. She's a bit of a background in curling herself.
We took a second to do some research because everyone had her name on the tip of their tongue. We couldn't figure out who it was.
Well, it's different seeing them live too than on television.
And that is the
But I
the
think
coach of Team Peterson.
I think she took over from Laney, so she's been coach for a couple of years.
Laney was here too, though. I've seen Laney in the building. So All right, trying to get a little bit of an outside roll there. Just a smidge of a roll.
나오는 게 좁은데 잘
They're
올렸어.
spread out pretty good.
하나.
Peterson indicating hit and stick. If she rolls, tries to roll behind the guard, of course, she's putting a rock in the back of the rings, give an opportunity to Team Ha to freeze and try to get a multiple score beyond 2.
And looks like it's going to be a nose on this right here.
Good shot. Lots of patience is needed in this game. Wouldn't you say, Lisa?
좋으면
Yeah, it can be a pretty slow game at times, so you can't get ahead of yourself, that's for sure.
Well, the thought sometimes is to make sure that you're always sitting shot or trying to sit 2, but sometimes you have to build up to it, and that's where this strategy comes in. Every time there's a change in rules, there's a change in the strategy, such as this end where we see Peterson throw her first 2 rocks into the rings and Hall
Yeah.
throw a corner guard.
Yeah.
아니야 괜찮아. 해.
What do you think of this new no-tick rule? You've probably discussed it several times already.
I go back and forth about it a lot. I'll listen to. My initial instinct is that I don't like it because just having played lead for a little bit of my career, I
나쁘진 않아.
I enjoy having a difficult shot to play as a lead. And I find that the no-tick rule takes away from that. It's just a little bit less fun to be a lead now, in my opinion. And tick shots, they're so precise and they're so difficult in juniors, but as soon as you get up to women's, they do become a really commonly made shots. Leads are amazing at making tick shots. Any high performing team, they won't miss. They won't miss their tick shots. And so that's when I do start to lean towards the fact that maybe it is needed because, you know, it just makes the game a little bit less exciting when any guard that you put up when you don't have the hammer is taken away from you.
Well, the rules really have taken a lot of takeouts out of the hands of the leads and a lot out of the hands of the seconds
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely. Yep.
One thing that has happened, though, is that these rules have forced a precision on the draw shots that wasn't necessarily always there before. You can't just throw up a guard anymore. It has to be pretty precise.
아니 얘는 그냥 뒤쪽으로 빼는 게 나을 것 같아.
Another thing that I don't like about the no-tick rule is that, in my opinion, a game is a marathon. And when you introduce the no-tick rule, it makes the game less of a marathon and it evens out the last end. So let's say a team is up 5-3 in the last end with the hammer. Now there's a slimmer chance that that team that was winning, that 5-point to 3 team, there's a lower chance that they're actually going to win the game. And so when I think of a curling game as a marathon, it becomes less of a marathon when you make it so easy for the team that was losing to come back in the last end, if that makes sense.
몇 가지도 괜찮아.
It makes that last end more important than I feel it should be.
It definitely evens things out, and I think that's the design, is to try to make games tighter.
괜찮아?
I suppose there's 2 ways to look at it. Make the game as much fun to play as you can, and make the game as much fun to watch as you can. And there is a certain balance, but there is a certain tipping to it as well. And I think we're tipping towards making it more fun to watch than to play. It's a great game, don't get me wrong. But when you go from way back in the Stone Age when I started curling and they played 12 ends, then they go down to 10. Now they've gone down to 8. That's going to even out a lot of games. Adding these rules with the with the free guard zone and the no-tick rule evens out a lot of games as well. It makes it more exciting to watch.
It does, and in a lot of ways I feel like that's why mixed doubles was created, because it's way more exciting to watch, in my opinion. It's a faster moving game. I mean, they've done that with a lot of sports now. Baseball, with the pitching clock rule, like, much faster game, all created in order to make it a more enjoyable experience for fans. And in a lot of ways, I do think curling needs more fans. Curling needs a little bit more excitement and more fans to get involved. So if the no tick rule is going to do that, then I welcome it. Will it make that big of a difference? I'm not sure. I'm not too sure.
Very aggressive call by Haw there. Come behind that guard. It gives Tabitha Peterson opportunity to possibly get both those rocks.
I like how the two hog girls in the back there squatting down to, maybe get a different angle or whisper to each other. I usually crouch down when I'm really stressed out and I'm trying to watch a shot and get that ideal angle. All right, we got Tabitha Peterson here. Trying to, wow.
What a shot. What a shot.
I'll be honest, I didn't know if that double was makeable, if you could see enough of it, but
It was pretty questionable from the view that we have, but she made it like nothing. Pretty hard sweeping and just whiskered by that guard. Managed to stay in the ring, so great shot. That's the kind of shooting we've been seeing all week, so if you get a chance and want to see this happening live, come on down to the Calgary Club this weekend. Phenomenal games going on.
all right, Haw with her last stone here. Looking to hit and roll out. Keep that hammer going into the next end.
Beautiful throw. Nice release. Nice straight through release and good solid weight. But we don't expect anything less.
All right, we're going to take another quick break here. Stick with us for the third end. This is going to be a close game, I would assume. All right.
And we're back.
Now, before we get started into this next end, we have a really important question to answer, Jack, and I think you know which one it is. What color of rock is your favorite and why?
That's pretty funny because I was just saying that's how some people pick their car is based on the color. But with rocks, I was talking to a very, very good curler once, and they told me they like to take, in this case, they would take the yellow rocks because the red rocks are easier to see when you're throwing a hit. So they thought it makes a difference. I'm not totally sold on that myself.
Isn't it the other way around? Isn't yellow easier to see?
Well, there you go.
Now I'm all types of confused because I've always picked the red rocks because I thought the yellow was easier to see.
Yeah, there you go.
Especially if the red rock is sitting in the forefoot.
What a great question then.
I would say 9 times out of 10 I would pick red just because red is a powerful color.
What I usually do when I was playing third and got to pick colors, I'd look at whichever color was on top of the scoreboard because then you start out on top.
안으로 갈게. 브러쉬 2개. 많이 돌았어. 일단 괜찮아.
So we do have a guard just off center, and a Peterson rock behind it, and a corner guard for Haw.
오케이 좋아. 클린. 얍. 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 아니 계속 와줘 와줘 와줘.
So just a little bit more about these players here. Lead of Team Peterson, Tara Peterson, obviously, Tabitha's sister, from Minnesota. She has gotten a bronze medal at the 2021 World Championships in Calgary. Right here in Calgary, she got a World Junior Championship bronze medal back in 2010. And a whole bunch of gold U.S. Women's Championships, and also a bronze as well. So quite the accomplished curler there, along with her sister, of course. Now, what is your opinion on playing on a team with your siblings or your family members?
Well, I do have some experience in that. It has its good points and its bad points. Number one is that there's a tendency to say what's ever on your mind, but number two, the bad point is that there's a tendency to say what's ever on your mind. So it can work out. You've got to establish how that relationship is going to work. There's also a certain pecking order on every curling team too. So it's important to define the roles. So in a lot of ways it's no different than putting together any other team, but you have to make sure that the boundaries are clear. I started playing with my father and two brothers, and we played together for several years, and then I played with three brothers for many years. And there's nothing better than winning with your family when you have the opportunity to do it, and it's a great feeling of accomplishment. But sometimes the losing with your family can be just as bad as the winning is good. Have you ever played with your brother?
I have played mixed doubles with my brother once, and I don't know if I ever will again.
Boundaries.
That's
right?
all I'll talk. That's all I'll say. I don't want to make him upset.
Well, he's a really nice guy.
He's all right. Yeah, that shot there you just saw was from Ha's second, Tai Yang, and pretty nice shot there to tuck in behind that guard. Just a soft weight, what looked like maybe board weight max. And Tabitha here is calling hack, I believe, hack weight. Looking to kind of follow Yang down that same path. They just saw it, so they should know how it's gonna run. And they have pretty similar releases, the two teams there, both very positive. Trying to make it curl. Rebecca carving it over.
Some of the teams will be counting the number of hammers that they have and which end they'll have the hammer in. Being down two complicates things for Team Ha a little bit. Do they want to take their two if they get a chance? Do they want to take their two in this end? Well, of course they do. But they don't want to be forced to a one, because that puts them quite a bit behind the 8-ball with Team Peterson then having the hammer in the even ends.
Yeah, I mean the more ends you blank when you have the hammer, the less chances you'll have to have a future hammer. So you definitely don't want to blank too many ends. And these are only 8-end games, not 10-end games, so it's quite a bit less time to score.
So Tai Yang. Nice little hit and roll.
Just another roll made by this Ha team.
Exposed though through a port.
Definitely a tougher angle, I would say. Most righties would probably prefer to throw an in-turn soft weight. At least I do. Can be easy to kind of turn those rocks out. Maybe that's just me and my out turn. I don't know.
Good thing for Ha is that the rock is back close to the tee line. It will give her some options if this shot is made.
Wow, okay, that way over curled.
Okay, advantage on this end. So let's see what she does, because she does have some options here. Number of rocks to go behind.
Yeah, I mean, you have the hammer, but I would probably just chuck another one under there, put some pressure on Peterson. They're going to have a really tough go if you tuck another one. Yeah, it's just right in the top 8 there.
Okay, that's an aggressive call.
What would you do, Jack? Would you throw into the corner there?
Well, it's a tough decision, because if you split this and just try to get your 2, you're right back at the start of the game, but you've run out of a few ends. So my theory is always to be aggressive.
I agree. I think if you have an opportunity to kind of put the nail in the coffin, put one top 8, I think Peterson's going to be a little nervous and, ooh, I don't know what they do. Throw a run back maybe, potentially open up that center.
And splitting the rings can easily make a 2 turn into a 1. And coming behind here can have a chance of turning a 2 into a 3.
I agree, and I think that's worth the risk, and that's what Ha is obviously doing here, and I think they have a good handle on their draw weight right now, although it is looking a little wide.
There's a good curl in this ice. They finish hard. So
not a bad spot, hey?
good shot. Looks like Peterson still has the chance for that little tap and roll.
So Tabitha's looking at that same shot that they played just 2 shots before and accidentally racked on that guard. I'm thinking that Corey Thies just slid a little tight and tried to get it back out there with her release. Which again, it's common with out turns in righty players. That's a lot of the times how you'll miss it.
So third's last rock. Third's last rock here. So Peterson wants to try and turn things around.
Oh, and
Another
over curled
guard.
again.
Yeah. It was an interesting call. She didn't obviously like the out turn through that port.
Yeah, so this is where another tough decision comes into play. It looks like Ha's first decision was to just put another guard up there, but at the same time, you don't really want to have to put up a center guard when you don't, or when you have the hammer. But then again, that is a very easy double to make on Peterson's behalf.
If she puts up a guard and guards one on the center line, it gives a possibility of taking out all 3 rocks. If she tries to close the port, it would also leave that port open. If she tries to close the port, which is what it looks like she's calling, if she tries to close that port, it might give Peterson an opportunity to make that shot that she just tried and get out of trouble. Third option that front end was pointing out, it looked like, was that they might want to put another rock in behind the corner guard. And now a fourth option.
Do you ever just try and split off that top 12 centerline rock? Try and split those 2 further away? I mean, you probably still set up a decently easy double there, but I'm just trying to think of how do you keep that 3 alive? And I don't know if there's an easy way to do that now that that guard is gone.
Well, the number 1 object at this point, I think, is to try and protect your 2. So you put that rock in a position where you're going to make sure that you get at least 2. If you try that little tick, you have to be very careful with that, because you could leave a double and a roll behind a guard. Possible triple, but
Yeah.
the double and roll behind the guard would take the end away also.
Now we do have some comments rolling in here, and Steve Manfred had some puns. I guess Tabitha Peterson is a pharmacist here. He said, "There's your prescription." Oh, sorry guys, just lost the stream for a brief moment. And then I guess Tara is a dentist.
Okay.
Very medical family, the Peterson family is. And he's also asking, have you ever seen an ambidextrous curler?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have. I've never seen anybody play with either hand in separate games, but there was a young fellow when I was playing juniors who was practicing one time throwing with his right hand and throwing with his left hand. He was very good with both. That's very difficult to do.
Yeah, I've tried curling lefty before, and it kind of makes you feel like you're learning how to curl again.
It's a good thing to do if you ever teach curling, to try and do it left-handed, because then you remember how difficult it is to start out.
That's a great point. Try to make the double here, and it was made.
Good shot.
Yeah, so that it takes that 2-point end to a potential blank, potential force.
Well, the good thing for Team Ha is that they do have the corner guards out there. If they can get tucked in behind those corner guards, that would give Peterson a very difficult shot, that either with a raise on her front center line guard or to follow it in. She'd likely try the raise on her front guard.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
If she puts one in there, then she's protecting her. She's giving herself a chance to bail out if she needs to take her 1 point. A big shot, though.
Yeah, and if they get a 2 out of this, it would be a nice skips deuce here. There's no better feeling as a skip than knowing both of your rocks were the ones that counted. Calling the front end on here looks a little slow.
It's cutting, yes. Oh, she's by.
Gotta get it shot here. Yeah, and just
a touch short.
one of those problems when you do have rocks sharpened right before an event, and we are still only in the second day of this event, so those rocks are a little bit nippy. As soon as they take off and they start to curl, it also takes off 3 feet of weight, in my opinion. It just, and then obviously when you're going to the corner there, you're slowly going away from the house, the top of the house there. So, but yeah, that rock just dug in really hard.
Can't tell if it's biting or not, which would make a big difference to this shot. If it's not biting, Peterson would likely like it right on the pot or just in front of it. But if it is biting, she'd want to put a little bit more distance and make her run back double a little bit harder. Sort of make the double a little bit harder. You got to think that she'd have her weight after watching them pin it 3 times in a row in the draw to the button. Good shot.
이거 괜찮을 것 같은데? 이건 약간 바깥골로 유지할게. 얼마나 보여? 아니 잠깐. 이거 안 돼버리면은 3점이라. 핵.
Yeah, so we've got 2 yellow rocks currently counting right now, and so Ha's going to be forced to.
아니 7번들이 체킹할
Looks
때부터
like a quiet weight hitting stick. Take her one.
다 뺐어.
Yep.
그러니까 아니 늘린 거야? 늘린 거야? 나 저렇게 과하게 잡고 하니? 그렇긴 한데 나 저렇게 과하게 잡고 오진 않았거든. 아니 그래 맞아
You can see the front end are having a little chat. No doubt they're talking about curl and line. There should always be, whenever you're shooting, there should always be a conversation going on. So at this point, the thrower lets go of the rock, gives an initial impression. The sweepers will give their opinion as to the weight, and then the third will respond with the line.
All right, so Ha took that 1 point there, and before we head off to the break, we're going to do a score check-in here, see where the other sheets are. I'm seeing most of them have finished their third end and put up their third end. So we're going to start over at sheet 1. Let's take a look at the scores here. Thank you to our camera people over here. All right, so we got Nakamura and Ackerman, and it looks like a tied ball game over there.
Nakamura with the hammer in the fourth.
Yeah, it looks like they're starting their fourth end. Over on sheet 2, we've got Wojciechowski and Marks, 2 Alberta teams and 2 young Alberta teams, both kind of, big competition for each other over the past few years. And it looks like Marks is leading the pack at 3-0.
You've played against them a lot.
Both teams. Absolutely.
And with Juliana, Mark's lead, played with her quite a bit. Then Martin and Kanai, 3-0, 2 blank ends to start off, and then a 3 spot.
Now we're going to head over to sheet 4. Thank you very much. Kim's at 2 with the yellow rocks, Bowman at 1 with the red rocks. Obviously, we've got our feature match here, Peterson and Ha. Over on sheet 6, Brown and Gim. Brown's leading 4-1.
That's the A qualifier.
It is, hey, yeah. Both going undefeated so far this weekend. And lastly, on sheet 8, we've got a 3-1 lead for Team Cameron. Kate Cameron, of course.
And she has the hammer in the fourth end.
All right, we're going to take a quick break while we regroup here and head into the third end on our sheet. Fourth end. Oh, boy. It's been a long day. All right.
Time flies.
10-4 here. Peterson up 2-1 over Ha. Ha with the hammer. And actually, no, I think, is that right? Yes, that is right. Ha was forced to take their one last end.
So Peterson has the hammer.
Oh, Peterson has the hammer, yeah.
So a little shout out here to all of the volunteers that come out and make this such a wonderful event. This wouldn't happen without the volunteers and without the sponsors. And we have some who are showing up every day and then staying and watching curling in their spare time. And I have to say, here in Calgary, it's beautiful. So I hear it's a beautiful, beautiful fall day, 20-some degrees outside.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I went and got ice cream in between games. The only unfortunate part is that it's getting dark out really early.
It does. So now what's your strategy at this point in the game if you're Team Peterson? Protect your lead?
I think as Team Peterson, you can, I don't want to say you can get comfortable because you should never be comfortable even when you have the lead, but I think you play a little bit more defensively because you know that Ha is going to be trying to generate points here. You know, they're the ones that are going to have to take some extra risks, take some chances, play with a little bit more rocks in play. So, you know, just play it simple. As Team Peterson, you just make your shots, ensure there's not too many rocks in play, but try and generate a point or two. Two would be awesome here to kind of create a bigger buffer in that lead.
And they do have hammer here in the fourth end, so that means they would, if they just traded hammers, they'd have 3, and Ha would have 2, which is a huge advantage to them. So they don't want to do anything that's risky. Ha, on the other hand, what do you suppose she's thinking?
I don't know. I mean, they had a good chance for 2 last end. It wasn't like they were, you know, hopeless all end. So I think just play their game and they'll get it back. They'll get their chance. Although that wasn't an awesome shot. It's quite a open game now, early on in the end.
Yeah, it was a bit surprising, I thought.
I'm a bit surprised too.
So I think Team Ha has to be thinking that at some point they're going to need a steal. They're going to need 2 and a steal. So which end they determine that they're going to go for their 2 and which end they're going to try and steal. But they don't have really that many opportunities left in an 8-end game. So they've got to try and get something building, I think, on each and every end. They can't play too conservatively and expect to win.
Yeah, this is interesting. They're going for the hit here. I'm not entirely sure if they're trying to just nose that or roll. Or
I think they want a little roll.
Yeah.
Try to use the rock at the back 12 foot of Peterson's, give Peterson something to hit it into, make her shot a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the setup on this game in this end for Ha. It seems too defensive in my opinion. I think you're really wanting you're really wanting a force here, and
Would be interesting to know what she's thinking, why she would play that particular shot. It's easy when you're up here watching a game to say
absolutely.
to say that doesn't seem like a very good shot, but it depends on what she's seeing and what she's thinking. I can assure you it looks totally different when you're on the ice. You're seeing things and feeling things, and it's not a mathematical game. It's an emotional game.
Absolutely. You're feeling a certain way, what you're comfortable with on the ice, and everyone has their opinions on how you should play, and as long as the team is on the same page, that's what really matters at the end of the day. unless you're losing a lot. But we know both of these teams win a lot. So they're obviously doing something right.
True. Two solid teams that know what they're doing.
They've definitely won a lot more than I have. So who am I to judge, really?
You're still young. Looks to me like she wants to get the double here.
Yep, that looks like the call. It's interesting. I wonder where they'll go if they make this double. What happens next? Are they just going to play a hitting game this whole end and restart next end, or are they going to try and generate some junk at the top there?
Well, if that's the case, it seems like a very funny time in the end to have tried to bail out.
Nice shot, though.
Beautiful shot. Absolutely perfect. But the issue is, does it help her?
Yep, because now Tabitha's thinking, I'm going to blank this end and try again for my deuce, and there's no rush for her. She can hold on to this hammer as long as she wants to, right?
That is true.
It's going to be up to Ha to change the speed of this game and the direction of this game. Looks like they're going to roll out here.
Okay. Peterson doesn't mind that one bit. So third Kim holding the broom, middle of the 12-foot. She would like it on the center line, no doubt. I don't think really matters to Peterson whether she's deep or shallow. She won't want to leave anything around that Sungyeon Ha can play with. Yang and Kim working this rock. Partway in the 8-foot. And I'm not sure how long a nanosecond is, but that's how long it took for Peterson to put the broom down.
Got some more comments too from Cheryl saying thanks for the updates of all the games, much appreciated, and we'll try and do that every couple of ends. But really, we appreciate you guys for being in the chat and commenting and keeping us entertained and having stuff to talk about. That definitely means a lot to us and everyone who watches. It's way more fun with people watching. We don't want to be talking to ourselves.
No, we do that enough. So I'm a bit surprised at the quiet weight that was thrown there, but no doubt Peterson wants to keep her feel for those rocks.
See, this is where Jack and I disagree, I think. It's because I think Jack likes a solid hit. And you know how I know that is because when I ask Jack to play a 9-second hit, usually comes down the ice at about 6 seconds, hog to hog. So
my view is if it's a hard shot, throw it hard.
I've only heard that once or twice from you, but I have seen teams, and actually my brother especially, likes to play 11-second hits, even when it's a wide open hit, just because it gives you that extra chance that you'll stick around. Now, it gives you that extra chance you'll stick around if you hit the rock, but if you miss the rock, it can be a lot easier to flash a hit because, you know, you get caught up in the curl, especially if the rocks are sharpened. It can be tough to kind of, you just got to be careful.
If you're throwing the rock harder and taking the curl out of it, you've got to be accurate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if you're accurate, then you put the broom down where you want it to go and it stays in that line. If you're throwing for curl, especially ice like this where it's curling 5 feet, if you're throwing quiet weight and you get a 1.5 feet of curl, you still have to be very, very accurate with that. So it depends on the situation. If you absolutely need to stick around, you're more likely to throw 11 seconds than 7 seconds.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, at the end of the game for the win, if you just need to get one rock out, you throw it hard because you put that broom right next to the rock or on the rock even and just make sure it goes. And that's, you know, you hope that rock stays as straight as you possibly can.
Well, and throughout the game too, you're learning the ice. So if there are any tricks in the ice, you might be careful about that as well. Or if you're not sure, if you know what it does at one weight, you don't want to experiment with it on an important shot. But no experimenting on that one. Toss it through. Keep the hammer.
Yeah, Burrs, all right. We're going to go to a quick commercial break here, check out some of our sponsors that are supporting this amazing event, and we'll be right back into the fifth end here shortly. Okay, Jack, update us on what is happening in this game.
Well, first I'd like to point out the score in the A qualifier. It's now 4-3 for Brown. And the winner of that will play in a skins game for $1,000. So that's a little added benefit to winning an A qualifier. In our game, we have Peterson up 2-1. It's been a fairly cautious game after the opening deuce. So a blank in the last end. Peterson retaining the hammer, so she'll have hammer, and if they trade hammers, it'll be 5 and 7. So big advantage. No doubt she wouldn't mind another blank end. So Peterson not coming into the rings on her first shot. Ha trying to develop an end by, of course, it's on the center line, so the no tick rule comes into effect. So now you have an extra wide guard because the shot that Ha just threw.
It's interesting to me how this team sweeps. It seems like the outside sweeper takes a bit of a wider path with their sweeping, whereas the close sweeper kind of swings behind the rock and obviously is doing a little bit of directional sweeping. I feel like I don't see that as much on Canadian teams.
Yeah, that's a good point, a good observation. Not sure what the effect of that would be. What do you suppose that is?
I'm thinking a part of it has to be just making sure that path is clean with that outside sweeper, making sure that there's no debris coming into the way, and then I guess I don't know. That's my best guess. And I mean, I do find a lot of teams, and Peterson's team is not guilty of this at all. But the outside sweeper struggles to find the path of the rock, and that's usually with younger teams. You'll see that in junior teams, young adult teams. So I guess sweeping that extra big path as an outside sweeper ensures that you are hitting the path of the rock no matter what.
That's true. You often see people that are new to the game, some of the younger teams, where their sweeping is nowhere near the path of the rock. It feels to them like it is. You tell them, they look totally hurt and surprised.
I've been guilty of that for sure.
Yeah, we all have at one point or another.
You know, the best way to remedy that is just by taking a video of them sweeping, showing them the live stream, and you go, oh my gosh, I've been sweeping this whole time just for fun, just for a workout. I've been doing nothing to the rock.
Yeah, pretty hard to convince yourself, though, sometimes. What I like to see on the sweeping, though, is these are very, very talented teams, so they're going to be very close, and the releases are very similar most of the time. So what I like to see is when the rock is let go, I like to see the inside sweeper. So on an out turn for a right-handed curler, that would be the sweeper to the left of the rock. I like to see them start on the rock, and you want to hold it on that line, and then you can then direct it off of that line. The weight should always be pretty close, and that gives you an opportunity to fine-tune it. What do you like?
I don't know.
Well, you've seen it from both sides because you're a very accomplished front-end player and a very accomplished skip. So when you're skipping, how do you like to see it? What do you want to see in the release?
Release for sure. Like, it's a hard topic because I think every team is different. The main thing for me is that every player is the same or similar. Because as a skip, it can be very, very difficult to judge a rock, and release it makes such a big difference how you release a rock. It can change how a rock curls by 4 feet. Like, it's ridiculous.
Okay, this end is certainly giving Team Ha an opportunity. Neither of those rocks are buried, and Peterson has a rock right on the center line that could be useful to them as well.
Now, what are they looking at? Looking at what Peterson would do with that run back, I guess. Looks like there's a pretty natural run double there.
So a couple of options. I don't think they really want to do anything with the rock on the right of the center line on the screen. If they could force Peterson to try and freeze their tap on that one, I think they'd be very, very happy. So they're looking at, I believe, they're looking at trying to guard either the yellow guard or half guard that and guard their own red shot on the right of the center line.
To me, it looks like they're half guarding the yellow and maybe part of that red on the right there. She kind of pointed her broom up to the free guard zone.
It'd be helpful to get another guard out, maybe halfway.
Yeah, I think so. I think that'll help them in the long run for sure. And this team just has beautiful slides, beautiful releases, and when we were talking about releases, this is exactly what I mean. Like, this Ha team has the same release across the board. They're like robots, really. It's amazing.
You can see that they spend an awful lot of time on technique. So technical practices so that they're all very, very similar release, very, very similar slide.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we thought they were going to place that rock, just in the 1-2 zone there, half guarding the yellow, taking away that run double, and then also making it harder for Peterson to get a hold of one of their red rocks in the forefoot.
Yep.
Now, what do you do if you are Peterson? I don't think there's a cut and dry response to this. I don't think there's an easy shot decision. I think there's a lot of options.
First glance, I think my shot might be just to rip that red that she just threw, that long guard. That's very, very safe shot. Still have quite a few rocks left. Bail out of trouble if you have to. I don't think it hurts Peterson to bring the play into the rings, so Ha would likely throw another guard.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where if you don't peel a guard or you don't play a run back or something, and you bring play to the rings there, you can't miss it. It's do or die, right? Looking at maybe playing a hit and roll on that red there that's sticking out.
In an earlier end, I think they had some trouble with this spot. They had a tick on this spot. They may be thinking about that. But it looks like they're considering running the guard.
I don't mind that. And if you just peel, that's not horrible. If you double peel, that's great too.
Okay, they're motioning at the tight guard.
Okay, interesting. I'm not too sure what the call is here. Are they trying to run that yellow back?
I think she said 9, so that's not a quiet wait.
No.
So I think they want to run it back, their own rock, run it back into the red. Gutsy call.
Definitely.
It's like we were talking before about whether you want to play aggressively or not.
Wow.
But that's a good miss.
It is a good miss. Although I will say I have seen Peterson rack on quite a few guards this end. Not even this end, actually, this game. With their hits. It seems like they're just erring on the tight side. But yeah, luckily for that shot, that's an acceptable miss. And
근데 여기도 공간이 그렇긴 맞아. 얘는 이게 1번이 되는 거고 얘는 롤이랑
to me, it seems like Ha has just a slightly more positive release than Team Peterson. Maybe Peterson's getting caught on that. Maybe their other sheets weren't as curly. Hard to say.
And they want to put up a long guard. Good call. They need to try and steal this end, I think. If they put up a guard, they'll definitely need to try and steal this end.
Seems like they're placing another guard. Their last one was about a 1, just over the hog line there.
I think that's what she motioned for as well.
Yeah, and it, that helps. Definitely takes away an easy double run back, and keeping it high is ideal.
So Hiren Kim's first rock of the 5th end.
And it seems just because Peterson is struggling with wicking some of those guards, that maybe this is definitely the right call, putting more junk. Oh.
You don't want your guards that long.
No, I wonder if that picked or...
Yeah, it must have.
As they kind of gave up on it right away, so I'm thinking that must have grabbed something. Shout out to Steamboat Curling and Cheryl, We really appreciate you guys. We had some audio issues, some visual issues at the start of the weekend that we kind of worked out. We worked out those kinks, and so thank you to everyone for kind of bearing with us through those. And now I think we're kind of smooth sailing from here, and it seems like we're starting to get a hang of this broadcasting thing.
Well, one of us is,
Oh,
and that's not me.
very nice shot from Team Peterson.
Very good. Really couldn't have worked out any better.
They're third. They're Corey Thies.
일단 가드해야 될 것 같아.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Haas shot, so they're guarding that. But what an opportunity for Peterson to, if she gets a chance, possible deuce out of this. But Ha also has a very good chance to steal now. She gets this guard in the right place.
Yeah, if they get this guard in the right place, you might have to throw a run back on that yellow there, and it's kind of a weird angle. Luckily, that yellow is right locked onto that red.
And Ha would really like to see this guard stay in. So now if Peterson is playing into the rings, that's probably to Ha's advantage.
As you can see, they both sweepers swung over there because it's very wide, very, very wide.
Huge port.
You think you can throw a rock through there, Jack?
Well, as long as nobody's watching, I'm sure I could. So where does she want to leave her shooter? Or does she?
Don't quiz me. Oh, goodness. So it looks like each team has one rock left, hey? Or two rock. I guess Peterson has 2 rocks.
Yep.
3 rocks. Oh, I can't count.
Peterson has 3 rocks.
3 rocks.
Third's last.
Ha
Is
has
throwing this one.
2. There we go.
Leave it in the wrong place, and it puts the advantage back to Ha to get a nice little hit and a bump and roll. Is that quiet?
Yeah, you definitely don't.
Wait.
You don't want to set up a double. That's not bad. That seems like a decent spot.
Yeah, rock behind the tee line.
But if you hit and roll, are you sitting shot there with red? They're standing in the way, so we won't be able to tell. Looks like to me, if you hit and roll off that top one, you won't be shot.
So I think if it were me, I think I would call on the top rock a little quiet hit to just roll, because then you still have the freeze to the back one, if possible. You'd also have a rock to play with in the front of the rings.
I don't think that was the worst spot to leave that rock, just because I think, yeah, you hit and roll, you're not shot. It does make Peterson's shots a lot harder going forward.
근데 나는 밀어낼 바엔 프리즈라고.
The rock on the tee line, I don't think is really bad for Ha. She could definitely use that. And if she hits the front one, I don't think that Peterson could ignore it.
You're right, she probably couldn't. If you hit and just half roll under that red there, even a third roll under that red, you're sitting pretty good. They're also looking at the freeze. It's not an easy freeze, the way those rocks are set up.
So they're having the discussion. A lot of times you want to be shot at this point, but a lot of times as well, it's not a bad idea to leave that one on the tee line because of the score, because of where we are in the game, to leave it on the tee line. See if you get your chance to use it on your last one.
So now that I've counted these rocks up, This is Ha's skip's first shot.
나는 저 안 보이는 거 밀어내는 거는 데미지가 있다 생각하거든. 미스가.
Looks to me like they're playing a quiet weight hit,
바깥까지 걸리는 거 아니야?
taking a decent amount of ice, even with their positive releases.
So the sweepers, Kim and Yang, have to be fully aware of what they want, communicate that quickly.
Clean. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Yep.
Wow, look at that dive. That just,
It's moving hard.
yeah, that caught some pebble. It is really, really curling. All right, so that miss
Okay.
gives Peterson a bit of an opportunity here.
아, 코피.
This is a bit of a tricky situation still. That rock being where it is, the guard being where it is, and with the amount of curl that there is,
아니 나는
to
저안 보이는 거 밀어내는
for Hoff, she gets the chance. She's got something to come to, which will give her some backing as well and make Peterson's last one very difficult. So if Peterson puts this in the right spot, she can pretty much guarantee herself a 2, but it's not an easy shot.
You saw Corey Thies actually just point out that they could take the out turn there because this in turn, as we've seen time and time again, curls a lot. And as soon as it picks up that pebble, it dies as well. So yeah, I would consider taking that out turn and maybe making Ha play that in turn on their next shot. Big shout out to Bob, the curling manager here at the Calgary Curling Club.
Yeah, great job.
He's here lurking behind us, watching us live stream. But big shout out to him, especially with getting all the live stream equipment set up and working with Curling Alberta to make this live stream happen because they are the ones supplying this equipment. And the curling club here, they got that all set up. And so we definitely wouldn't have this stream without them.
It's a bit of a defensive shot because she's looking at what Ha has on her last one. Ha could, as you say, could throw either turn at this. So this shot has to be very good.
And it's coming in pretty nicely.
Okay, it's a good spot.
아예 얇게 그냥 가야 될 것 같은데?
Oh, you'd have to throw that rock pretty hard to get that double, I'm thinking. You don't realize how difficult it is to speak until you start commentating, do you?
살짝 하나 조금만 돌아서.
Yeah, well, I started at an early age, so I'm pretty used to speaking now.
Yeah, I have some years to catch up on you, I think.
Hey, there's a bit of distance between those two. Rocks, I mean.
Oh, no,
not the
between,
years.
not the ages. I realized that about half a second after you said it. Yeah, there's more distance than I thought, actually. Looking from that front view, it seemed like they were a lot closer together.
Still, it's pretty thin if she's going to throw big weight at it, so she probably want to curl in.
Shots usually look easier from the skip's perspective, I've found.
And I will want to stick this one at least halfway behind the guard. If she can make this double and sit there, she'd be in pretty good shape.
야, 야! 오! 야!
Nice.
Oh, beauty. Shows what I know.
I think both of these teams are very strong hitting teams, so it's definitely interesting to see them play with a few guards in play. They usually find a way to hit themselves out of an end if they have to. Both Ha and Peterson, I've noticed. Peterson obviously struggling a little bit, hits around guards and such, but for the most part, their doubles have been very solid.
So I think they were discussing whether they want to play that split on that guard, whether that was there to tap it into the rings and roll in for a deuce. for them. I think it's pretty good to come out of this with another blank.
I think so. And after this blank, we will take you to review some of these other sheets and other draws going on. There's some very talented curlers on these other sheets, and we'll just check in with them before we head to a break. So, another blank.
Tabitha Peterson hucks it through.
We're running out of room to mark our blanks on the scoreboards here. All right, let's head to sheet 1 and find out what's happening over there. Thank you. That's why don't you start reviewing some of these scoreboards, Jack?
Oh, I can't see that score.
Oh, that's why I asked you. That's because I didn't want to try and figure out what the score was. I think
I'll
Ackerman's
give you a
sitting
partial score. Ackerman 6.
6. I'm thinking Nakamura is at 2. That is my guess.
Yeah.
Put your guesses in the comment section. Oh, just kidding. Oh, it's a 3. All right.
And then Marks has that game in hand, 5-zip, playing 6.
And Martins and Kanai, looking like Kanai's up 4-0 on Martin going into the 6th end here. Looks like our sheet is a little bit quicker than some of these other sheets going on.
Brown and Gim, the A qualifier. Gim is now up 5-4, playing 6.
What a back and forth game that is.
Yeah, a lot of deuces there.
That's a textbook game for both of those teams, scoring their deuce when they have the hammer.
And sheet 8, Reese Hansen is down to Cameron, 5-2, playing the 6th end.
All right, we're going to head into a quick break here, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Okay, and we're back. And once again, shout out to all of our sponsors and volunteers and all the patrons that have come down that make this event what it is. 45 years this event has been going on, and I always thought it was the best run bonspiel around. Still do.
And you're just saying that because you're on the committee now.
For only 2 of those 45 years. So despite my best efforts, it's still the best run bonspiel.
Wow, they've been a good 2 years, Jack.
Ha with tight guard, rock behind it, top 4. Up tight to Peterson's rock, also in the top 4. Sixth then, Peterson with last rock. So if they trade last rock, of course she's got 2, Ha has 1, big advantage to Peterson. And it is an even end. That plays into the thinking as well. Peterson can't be totally comfortable with only a 1-point lead, even though she does have last rock.
I'm impressed with this Ha team so far, even though they're down. I've been impressed with their shot making and their hits, and
You did.
you know what I always say,
You did.
a good team gets good by playing other good teams, and obviously Peterson is one of them, but Haas played a lot of good teams throughout the years and lost to a lot of good teams, but you know, the more you lose, the better you get, and they played in the Canadian Open, reached the final, and faced Anna Hasselborg, very good player. Kim also made it to the final of the 2020 World Junior Curling Championships, lost to Canada there.
We've seen a lot of good young teams come through this Bonspiel over the years and leave their mark, and it's a really good experience for them. Not that they've always won, but they get the opportunity to play at this level, and they get to see what they need to do. It's a real big deal for these international teams to come here, the young international teams. You had a junior team from Japan was in this Bonspiel, and they acquitted themselves well. But the learning that they get from coming out here and playing these other teams is tremendous, and it holds them in good stead. We're also at this Bonspiel, we've also had a long history of getting the local Alberta teams, the junior teams, out to fill spots when necessary, and many of them qualified in their own right.
Another double. Another double made by Haas second, and that's Tai Yang making that shot there. And you're right, Jack, though. It's awesome for these teams from out of Canada coming in here and being able to play in these events, but in the same way, it's just as amazing for the Canadian teams, especially the junior teams. I remember when I was playing juniors, being able to play some of these national teams coming from Korea, from Japan, from Switzerland, Sweden, all these places. It's very exciting because as an Alberta player, you don't always have that opportunity, especially in U18. And you come to bigger events like this and they let you in, and you're just excited that they let you in, and now you get to play and lose to a lot of these really amazing international teams. And I love losing to them because it's fun. It's just awesome playing someone from a different country, seeing their style of play. And it makes you feel like you're at a world championship, even though you're not. So
I have to think that one of the biggest games anyways that we played when I was coaching you in junior was when we played Chelsea Carey. What an opportunity that was. So not only do you get to see the international field, but you get to see the very best in the world. Chelsea is in this. She's a guest skip for Team Yagi. She has a phenomenal history. The clutch shot making throughout her career, and still at it, still doing really well, and she still has a future in this game.
yeah, there's definitely something to be said about players that can make shots when it matters, and I think that's why Yagi here recruited Carey to skip their team this weekend. Not just play and spare for their team, but to skip for their team. That doesn't happen very often with a spare, but because Chelsea is such a great shot maker when it matters, of course they're going to bring her in and trust her to throw those last two shots.
Becca Hamilton throwing her intern.
And you actually see the lead here on Team Hamilton. Tara, she was actually kind of swaying her body over so she could directional sweep with Thies there. So they were both trying to hold that rock straight. That takes some skill to do that, especially on a slider.
So is Ha thinking that she's got to steal this end? Pretty much, I would think.
It's interesting because I would say so, but she doesn't play very aggressively at all. I guess you know your center guard there is safe because it is touching the center line there. There's no risk of ticking that from Peterson, but oh, actually there is. There's that 5 rock rule is gone. See, I'm not good at counting rocks, Jack. I take it one shot at a time.
Too much math.
Too much. I can barely, keep track of when I'm playing how many rocks have been thrown.
Some old curlers used to say 3 worst things about curling these days, or about curling in those days, was check stops, corn brooms, and math.
When I was at provincials last year, I accidentally peeled a rock that wasn't meant to be peeled, and I felt so dumb. At provincials, I peeled a rock before the 5 rock rule was over.
Well,
How embarrassing is that?
That's a team effort. I blame your coach. Good
Yeah,
shot.
I don't know if I'd want to waste a timeout on that. But yeah, another good hit and roll there.
Yeah, Peterson looks like just behind the center line, or just behind the tee line, on the center line. Coming to it. Like this call, a real team shot. This needs to be made pretty precisely or it'll be gone.
라인 그대로. 라인 좋아. 립. 수지 라인.
Third, Hiron Kim throwing this shot.
수지 라인.
Can see the sweepers kind of getting to the inside of that rock there, trying to just push
It's
it
out.
over.
But it does finish hard.
아이 진짜 와야 돼. 진짜 와야 돼. 와야 돼. 와야 돼. 와야 돼. 와야 돼. 와야 돼. 와야 돼.
Yeah, the issue there is they were kind of trying to wait for it to move over, and
it-
then it lost its momentum.
1-1.
Okay. Peterson eyeing getting that guard out of the way.
약간 호그라인부터 그냥 확
Get both rocks and roll away. That'd be great.
That's the thing, right? It takes one shot from Peterson, and every rock that's been put in by Ha this end is gone. So I think personally would like to see Ha get a little bit more aggressive, and I think they needed to start doing that this end to generate some points, put some pressure on Peterson, because right now Peterson, I don't think they're stressed at all. I think they're chilling and happy that there's not a lot of rocks in play. They're still up 1 with hammer. They can do that for the rest of the game if they want to, right? And just like that.
And a great shot.
Yeah.
Really, it puts back in the same position.
약간 지금 우리 가져오려면 프리즈는 안 돼.
She's got a partial guard and a freeze to a rock that's
언니 거 열 안 줬어.
just behind the tee line.
지금 언니 키스한테 초반 나와야
I'm
돼.
not sure if she needs to bump that or not. It might be
괜찮다.
over top with the pin.
Yeah, you probably don't want to bump it too much. You don't want to run the risk of, giving them a slash to get it out of there.
Definitely would want to be shot after this though. So
Yeah.
she may have to bump it maybe 2 inches.
Just a smidge.
이때도 괜찮네.
I'm thinking Peterson isn't too worried about taking their back one on this second shot here. If they have a way to double these 2 rocks out, this red rock and this yellow, I think they'll take it. And then
아니 만이름이야.
it's looking like they will have exactly that double. Actually, no, not even a double. It can hit and
She
roll
let
in
it
that.
stay
Yeah,
and possibly get 2.
yeah. Yeah, this definitely puts
But she doesn't, she has to be careful here, of course, because she doesn't want to give Ha another opportunity to freeze to that one. So it's still a precise shot. And I don't believe that Peterson would like to get a 1. A blank is good, 2 is good, but 1 not so much. 3-1 with 2 ends to go.
Yeah, I'm wondering how aggressive Ha would get. I mean, we haven't had the chance to see them have a lot of hammers throughout this game because there's been so many blanks. One in the second, one in the fourth, one in the fifth. So it'll be interesting to see if later in the game here they kind of crank up their aggression and put more rocks in play with the hammer. I know some teams feel a lot more comfortable doing that when they have the hammer.
Well, I think she'd be forced into being more aggressive at this point.
That's a little wide.
Very nice shot.
근데 우리 여기서 블랭크 가더라도 3점은 안 되긴 하는데.
So if Ha freezes to that,
이거 롤 가도
she makes a perfect shot.
2점이야.
I think she'd be shot.
3점은 안 되긴 해. 근데 롤 갔을 때 들어오 주겠다는 건데. 근데 이거는 약간 나는
Somebody might ask third Kim to move out of the way so we can see exactly where that rock is.
I think it's our fault for not having an overhead camera.
완전.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Oh yeah, she'd be shot for sure.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not sure what she's
어.
playing here though.
I'm not too sure.
근데 얘가 근데 얘도 완전 올 거면 백?
I think I like that freeze. I think that's a great opportunity to steal in the sixth end, even
나는
end.
들어오 주는 게 나을 것 같은데.
Well, she may be calling the freeze with the intern, but it doesn't seem
나는 이거 롤하고 들어오 주는
like
게
a
나을
very
것 같아.
To me, it seems like the
high
third.
percentage shot.
Yeah, to me, it seems like the third's wanting to throw that freeze, and the skip is maybe saying no. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Maybe playing soft weight tap to try and roll in for shot.
Oh, that's tough to get shot off that. I don't even know if that's possible. That's way harder than just throwing the straight freeze, I'm thinking.
And she's away.
Yeah, it's not a lot of weight.
And that one's not bending like she wanted either, I don't think. Okay. That makes this call pretty easy for Team Peterson.
I'm not too sure what they were trying to do there. I don't know if I understand completely.
It seemed pretty quiet if she was trying to throw a double.
Yeah, definitely not the double.
It seemed pretty strong if she's trying to throw a tick shot.
Yeah.
And it did seem to run straighter than they wanted,
Maybe
the way that
just-
they swept it.
I think a part of that may have been that the third was inching towards playing that freeze, and the skip, you saw them arguing, well, not arguing, but discussing it from each end on what they wanted to do, and maybe kind of just in between shots there and not feeling confident in the call.
어제 밀어내고 우리가 쓰러질 수가 있는 그게 아니잖아.
And I think it was you, Jack, that would always say, if the skip goes down and the call gets changed, or there's a discussion about the call, the skip should always go back down, talk to the third, replace the broom, and then go back down again.
True. Everyone has to be on the same sheet.
Oh.
Ooh, it's a little hot. Well, we had a number of rocks down that spot. Okay.
That's one way to force an end.
Okay. Down 3-1.
이쪽 부분만
2 ends to go. So Haas still hanging in there.
Why don't we take a brief look at some of these other games? It looks like there's some kind of shaping up to be a little bit of a blowout.
Oh, yeah. The A qualifier is a barn burner.
It really is, yeah.
5 all playing the 7th end.
All right, let's start at sheet 1.
Okay, if we have to. Nakamura down to Ackerman, 7-3, playing the 6th end. Marks is up 5-1 over Wojciechowski. Kanai is up on Martin, 4-0, playing the 6th end. And then we have Kim is up 6-1, playing 7. Seem to have that one in hand. And we already mentioned Brown. And Kim with hammer in the 7th end there. And finally, Reese Hansen and Cameron. Cameron up 6-2.
I'm thinking that game is
and
over.
that game is done.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anyone on that sheet, so obviously Cameron must have gotten a couple more points to kind of seal the deal there. All right, we'll be back after another brief break. Welcome back, everybody.
Low scoring game. It's been an interesting game, mind you. So now Ha down 3-1 with the hammer, 7th end. So he's got 2 ways to play this. But it looks like, all things considered, she'd be pretty happy if she was able to take this to an extra end at this point. 1 multiple point score and a whole bunch of blank ends. But we got something going up the middle. Peterson's got 2 rocks, center line and just off the center line, and a corner guard. So Ha wants to use that corner guard, get something tucked in there, and hope to make a big shot down the middle, eventually for a deuce. Now, generally, these teams will come into a game with a strategy for each end as they go into it, but also with an overall game strategy. They'll know if they want to play conservatively throughout, if they want to keep it a tight game, or if they want to go all out and try to put the other team away. Well, clearly, both these teams have been cautious in this. Neither one going all out on any particular end, but the score has dictated that they want to keep it close to give themselves a chance to hang in there.
So I'm wondering if, I'm assuming that second Peterson rock was meant to be in, not a guard. I can't imagine they would attempt to throw a double center guard, being up 2. They obviously don't have the hammer, but it is the 7th end. They're up 2 points. Probably don't want to junk things up too much. It'd be awesome to keep Ha to 1 here, or even steal. And there actually goes up what looks like another center guard. So
yeah,
are we
it
thinking
looks
the
like
ice is slowing
looks
down?
like that one they just threw is a tight guard, but I don't think it's in.
I'm wondering if the ice is fudging up a little bit. There have been some teams leave. Oh, and there's actually a third team leaving. Third sheet leaving, I should say. Marks beating Wojciechowski on sheet 2. Sometimes those bodies leaving the ice just cools things down a little bit, kind of fudges things up. So could be the ice is just slowing down a little bit, which is why we're seeing Peterson throw up 3 center guards.
From what I've heard, though, the ice has been holding up pretty well. It could change from game to game, but I think the ice has been holding up pretty well. We'll try and get a time on one here
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
and see how it's doing.
I did get a question here from Teresa. She's asking what's the picture in the Curler's Corner ad. Obviously, Curler's Corner is our title sponsor and has been our title sponsor here at the Autumn Gold for many years. Bernice over at Curler's Corner in the Calgary Curling Club building. And I almost don't want to say this because I don't want to be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's a dragon, and I'm pretty sure that was Bernice's husband who actually drew that logo
That is
a while back.
definitely a dragon.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's very special. Bernice's husband drew it, and it's been her logo for a very long time. If you're able to go support Bernice, if anyone is in the Calgary area, in the Alberta area, if you come to the Calgary Curling Club, go support her because she's just a lovely lady. She also has the most adorable dog in her shop, so even if you just want to go visit her puppy, Briar, named obviously after the men's curling event, the Briar, she's just a great supporter of women's curling and junior curling and men's curling. So
Bernice Merrick has been involved with this Bonspiel since its inception. She bought out the business of Curler's Corner probably about 40 years ago or so, and I think Curler's Corner has been a sponsor here for 45 years. So it's been a part of her life forever.
yeah.
And as you can see, she is a big dragon fan and a big curling fan.
And why can't the two go hand in hand, eh?
Absolutely.
열긴 열려야 돼 지금.
Yeah, if you guys have questions or comments in
아니
the stream, please leave them for us. We'd love to interact with you guys. And throughout the weekend, we've had some amazing commentators. We've had Olympians. We've had national qualifiers, national gold medalists. So we've had some really great commentators. And if you guys could leave comments throughout the weekend, that'd be awesome, because I know it means a lot to everyone running the stream. And we'd also like to give a shout out to our production team back here working the live stream, working the cameras and the scoreboards. They're doing an awesome job. So
Yes, they are. And we have a wonderful producer.
Who's that?
Who would that be? Sitting next to me, Lisa Parent. There's a lot of rocks in play in this end. Interesting situation with him throwing takeouts, but in the circumstances, she's got a pretty good chance to get a deuce here.
that was kind of a neat turnout for that call, actually. Just not that they really need another corner guard, but rolling over to those two corners there, it's great. It junks up the side. It keeps the center open.
What Peterson is no doubt trying to hit her own yellow rock, take out the shot rock and the forefoot, and get the roll. She'd like to get both the red rocks out and sit behind that corner, but it still would leave Ha with the corner guard. If Ha can keep the play to the wings, she does have the bailout shot to the middle. So
Curler, third curler here for Peterson, Corey Thies, from Minnesota.
지금 좀 열려야 될 것 같은데.
She has won a
어.
whole
열려 있기는 한데.
bunch of events,
다
some
들어가야
national
돼, 우리가 더.
championships down in the States, some silver medals at the national championships, as well as some bronze medals, and a silver at the 2016 World Junior Curling Championships. Quite the decorated curler. And also mixed doubles player as well, which quite a few curlers do dabble in both of them. And I do believe Becca Hamilton has done quite a bit of mixed doubles as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah, you might have seen her at an Olympics, I believe. Okay, Ha playing quiet wait. Sneaks by the guard and two tucked in behind the corner.
Wow. Awesome shot from Ha's third here.
웨이트 괜찮은데 혜린 언니께
So I think Peterson has a couple of options. She can draw in there herself for shot rock. She makes perfectly. She's in pretty good shape taking the end away, forcing a one. She can go behind the center guard, which is unlikely. But it is something that looked like she looked at. Yeah, this would be your shot.
I'm really impressed, and we talked about this a bit earlier, how we haven't seen Ha with the hammer a whole bunch during this game. Actually, we haven't seen either team with a lot of hammer, just with the blanks. I mean, it's been a low-scoring game, but seeing Ha and their ability to keep rocks where they want them compared to where Peterson wants their rocks, just keeping play to the side, I'm really impressed by that. Obviously, you see Peterson now looking at these corner rocks here, wondering what are we going to do with these? What do you think, Jack? What have they done right in ensuring that this game, this end, is an end played on the corner and not in the center like Peterson would prefer?
Well, I think this is the first end that it really seemed to matter to them about getting something going. So before they played pretty conservatively. This time they put up their guard and they got something, their corner guard got something behind it. Took advantage of Peterson putting up the two center guards.
Well, really 3 center guards
Yeah,
at
the
a time.
third one too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to go from 3 center guards to now this is just, it's impressive.
Sometimes when you watch these games, you think, well, why don't they just do this? But
careful,
now
Tara.
they're throwing an out turn into an area of the ice that they haven't really played an awful lot. So there's some uncertainty into this particular shot. It has to be made precisely.
And you can see that as Thies follows that rock down, making sure that she's kind of having some input in this shot.
And there you go.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a guessing game, and you don't want to be guessing when you're throwing those shots. You want to know what the rock is going to do, of course.
Yeah, you're starting to sweat a little bit if you're Team Peterson, hey?
Well, it certainly makes the game a lot more interesting.
핵도 충분히 만들 수 있어서.
If she can leave just a sliver of this rock exposed behind the two corner guards, she might take away Peterson's opportunity to draw behind it.
노즈도
Force her
괜찮아.
to try and draw behind her center guard, which could result in a very big end. On the other hand, Peterson makes a shot nicely, and it forces Ha to make a shot to take a single eventually. We're assuming that shots are all made.
We got a comment here about the game taking a long time, and actually, surprisingly enough, they are on pace or ahead of a lot of the other games in this draw. I think a part of the reason why it feels like it's taking a long time is because it's been such a low-scoring game, and also there are no timers. We aren't timing these teams, so they can take as long as they want to, really. So yeah, I would say it's a bit slower than if it was at a provincial championship where they're being monitored. But they are on pace with some of the other sheets. A lot of the other sheets were blowouts, so they're already off the ice. But you know, I will say these past couple ends, there's been a lot of talking going on. Seems like kind of they did slow down a little bit.
That was an interesting result. Gives Peterson a couple of options here, of course. She can try to take something out. She could possibly try a double. Any double would be a pretty thin double, and she'd be rolling away. She could try and hit and roll part way behind the center guard. I don't think she'd have a roll going the other way.
왜냐면 얘 거의 얘 느낌만 봤거든. 아,
I'm wondering if Yang's back is okay. She's hitting her back there.
Oh.
Having some back issues. We need a massage therapist in this building.
Yeah, they're looking at the hit and roll behind the center guard.
여기만큼 여기가 많이 떨어져서 여기가 그늘만
Is that your call if you're throwing this rock?
Yeah, I think that's a good call. If she makes this, she forces Haw to make a very good shot. Opens up her, for Peterson, opens up that out-turn draw behind that guard that she tried and didn't make on the previous shot.
Staying close? Staying very close. Just looking. Oh.
Hit it a little thin.
Yeah, I'm thinking that was a little bit too solid of a weight there, because the line caller seemed to think it was pretty close and actually did call the straight sweeper on for a little bit there. So maybe just a little bit solid, and maybe that didn't get communicated to the skip, or sorry, the third.
So it looks like Haw is asking Kim to put the broom down so that she get ahead and roll behind the guard. Have to be careful what you wish for sometimes here.
근데 일단 슈터 타는 게 먼저.
Peterson really would need a chance to bail out.
분명 프리즈라서. 구름을 일단 넉넉히 썼어.
If she could hit and roll a little bit to the outside, that would make the roll behind the guard for Peterson not much tougher. Put 3 red rocks in the rings. But it's certainly looking good for Haw at this point.
Yeah, I'm thinking Team Haw fans are pretty happy, and it looks like there's a few in the comment section here. If you're watching and you have a preference on who you want to win this game, make sure you let us know in the comments and show your support for these teams.
립. 칼. 칼. 칼 계속. 아 계속 가져.
Ooh. Now, is it just me, or was she yelling curl?
I think she wanted it to curl.
I think so.
But good separation on there.
아 나오는 거 바깥쪽일 때.
Tough to bury that precisely, but
Just a,
go ahead.
sorry, just a quick update on, we're getting a question about Gim, and because there's a lot of talking in this game, we have time to review this. There's a measurement going on with Team Brown and Team Gim right now on sheet 6. They are just off to the sheet to the right of this game, and so far it's a tied game. We'll see what happens after this measurement, and we'll make sure to check in next end and see what happened there.
yep, 5-all in the 7th end. So big point. Okay, here is an exceptionally difficult shot for Peterson. She does have 2 chances to roll to the middle or to roll a long ways, but she needs to make this a tough shot for Haw. And she knows it.
Yeah.
So a very well played end for Haw.
Yep, I'm thinking all they need to do is nose that, and you see the front end players coming down cleaning that ice, because they cannot afford for this to pick, that's for sure.
아무것도 괜찮아.
What a big moment in this game where Peterson's had control throughout and has played very solidly throughout the game. And now this one end, beautifully played by Haw, and it
아 무릎은 괜찮아.
could potentially flip the game completely around.
Well, it's just amazing to see how, this whole game, you and me, Jack, were questioning why are they not playing more aggressively.
많아 보여.
As soon as they got the hammer, they played fairly aggressively, and it's worked immensely in their favor, obviously going for 3 this end, and being up 1, coming home without the hammer, not a bad way to wrap up the game. You got a pretty good chance of winning that game up 1 without hammer.
Both the last 2 rocks in this spot have been pretty good. Looking like the soft weight shot here.
Yeah, easy peasy shot.
Yeah. 10.5 seconds. Hit it slightly off nose on the pro side. 3 points, 4-3 lead. Playing the last end, or the 8th end, not necessarily the last. And Peterson with hammer.
Why don't we just quickly check in with these other scoreboards? I know everyone in the comment section's wondering. We're going to start over at sheet 1. And Ackerman up 7-4 on Nakamura. Obviously, that 2 sheet is a little bit of a blowout there. And it looks like Kanai and Martin also finished up their game, with Kanai taking that win. Heading over to Kim and Bowman. Kim is up quite a few points. It looks like 7-1, 2, something around there. Yeah. Kim's winning by a decent amount. We don't need to know the exact score there. Brown, Gim, looks like they took 2. 2 for red in the last end, the 7th end. They're heading into the 8th. Gim up 2 on Brown without the hammer. And that's all your sheets. The rest of them are off the ice, eating dinner, going to sleep. And we're right into the 8th end.
And Peterson, no doubt, looking to take a deuce in this end. Of course, opposed to that plan. We were talking early on in the game about the differences in some of the rules over the years, the rule changes over the years, which has tightened the games up, which certainly increase Peterson's odds of getting a 2 because they bring rocks into play. And that's what Peterson would like in this end, I would think.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think with that rule change, in a lot of cases, it makes it easier to steal. You know, that center guard they threw up, that can't be ticked. And actually, I'm curious, Jack, would you up 1 without hammer? Would you throw that center guard, or would you throw 1 in?
You have to know that Peterson's going to be throwing that corner guard regardless. So we want control of the front of the rings. I like the spot that it's in. It wouldn't hurt them to be even full into the 12-foot, but there's a rock that you can use later on to angle in behind the corner if you absolutely need to, or to raise up. So I think that's a pretty good shot. I don't think they really need it at the 4-foot. That could be interesting to see over the course of the year how that's played in this situation. If it changes it from people playing 2 rocks into the 4-foot or playing these guards.
And there goes up the second center guard. It's aggressive, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's really, if you want to win this game and you don't want to go into an extra end, that's kind of how you have to play it. Is you got to junk up that center, and you have to get a rock in the 4-foot before Peterson can, and then you got to start minimizing their rocks in play. And obviously, you don't want to give up a deuce, so it can be a little worrisome to play this aggressively in the last end. But in a lot of cases, you want to win in the 8th end. You don't want to have to make it go to an extra unless you're just minimizing damage at that point. So
if Ha wants to win then in the 8th end, they're looking at stealing this end.
Absolutely.
Peterson needing a 2, so we should see some ammo in the rings.
Yeah, and that's why they threw up those 2 center guards, and beautifully placed center guards, I must say. And I think we're going to see them go top 4.
That was the call.
Now you got to watch for this to over curl here.
Yeah, it's moving.
Yeah. No, I think the ice is slowing down. Did you get any times on any of these draws, or?
I didn't get a good time on any of them. I'm not so sure that it would be the ice here because the point in the game makes a big difference too. They've missed a few early in the middle ends, racking on guards, so it seems when they miss, the rocks are taking off on them. And I don't think that's the ice's fault.
Yeah, it can be easy to blame the ice, that's for sure.
Yeah, I always do.
I will say I don't think there's a curling club out there that doesn't slow down towards the later ends. No matter how good you make your ice, it's always going to be quicker in the first couple ends. I obviously haven't had a ton of playing time on arena ice, just a few. But even those slow down towards the end of a game, just with people leaving the ice and it kind of freezing up again. But you're right. We have seen a lot of racks on guards throughout the game. It's nothing new, I wouldn't say.
Okay, now we're playing some takeout weight.
Good for a double peel here. And that's a pretty darn good shot.
And I have to say, when I golf, if I ever miss a shot, which is rare, that it's always the greenskeeper's fault.
Absolutely. It's always the ice's fault. It's always the rock's fault. It's always your sweeper's fault.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any.
Sometimes in golf, there's no one to blame but your caddy.
Yeah, and golf and curling, they've got a lot of similarities.
Yeah, both touch games, both field games.
All right, what are we throwing up here, Jack?
Coming in.
약간 빨라 보여. 아, 6이야. 램.
Has a pretty good double peel, just even where their yellow rock rolled, it's not a bad spot, kind of on the side there. Obviously, Haw's going to use that yellow rock to their advantage and try and cut off that path for Peterson. Get there before they can.
Looks like a very nice shot. Fully buried, it looks like, over buried. Peterson's yellow is exposed on the outturn.
Now, what do you do if you're Peterson? Because that rock's in a troublesome spot for them. It's definitely a pain in the butt. She's looking at the freeze.
I think it's an old-fashioned gunfight. You got to be shooting all the time here now.
Yeah, it's all about angles, I'm thinking, from now on, right? You got to get the right angle on that freeze and find a way to bump that red rock out of there. It's in a really tough spot. Really, really shrinks the scoring area for Peterson to get more than 1 point at least.
They're thinking 5 rocks to get 2 points. They're calling, looks like ice that's tight to the guard. If they can take the same line on this shot as Haw took on hers and bump the Haw rock behind the rings, that'll change their strategy, change their thinking quite a bit. They'll have something else to come to. They can bump Haw to third shot. That would be perfect for them at this point. Nicely away. They didn't call the sweepers on right away, but they were working it hard through the middle. Oh, they're by. What a nice shot. What a nice shot. Even though it's still second shot, it was a very, very difficult shot. They had to play that quiet weight.
Yeah,
They're-
that was tough. That was tough, for
They're
sure.
exposed, but they did put it behind the tee line, so that was the important part of their strategy.
Yeah, and shots like that, I think weight is the most important thing. And throwing a soft weight bumper hit is just one of the most difficult things to do because it's so easy to overthrow those. I do think that, if I'm guessing, was a little bit more weight than they were hoping for. I'm thinking maybe they didn't want to bump it quite that far, but it's in a pretty good spot, and they got it out of the way. Haas got to make a good hit and roll here to, get themselves in a solid situation.
It's in a good spot for Peterson. It gives them some possibilities for doubles. So this
Absolutely.
rock is moving.
아이, 계속 와! 계속 와야 돼! 계속 와야 돼! 계속 와, 계속 와, 계속 와, 계속 와, 와, 와,
Yeah, it's
와, 와,
overcurling a slight bit.
아이, 노랑.
Oh, that
nice.
worked out for them.
Yep.
But the rock behind the tee line. Now, if Peterson can get something 3/4 buried there and shot, it makes it very, very hard for Ha to get it out. Good chance for a deuce then.
Yeah, I think the miss there would have been to not quite roll that far. Even just have a little piece of that red sticking out.
For sure.
We've got a comment saying that instead of that little bumper shot, that Peterson should have thrown the red run back. I think that red run back will be a shot eventually. I think it could end up being a shot. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Certainly a possibility, but I like the shot that she called. She's going to have to be playing something, likely going to have to be playing something into the rings with draw or quiet weight, and this gives her the opportunity to do that.
It did work out great for Peterson. I
Yeah.
mean, look at that rock coming in. That's beautifully placed. So it worked out in their favor. But I do think having that red rock up there,
프리즈 가야 될 것 같아.
Well, it helps Ha at
It
this
helps
point.
Ha.
And we said that at the start of the end.
Yeah.
That give her something maybe
해주면 될 것 같아.
later on that she can angle in or to raise
Absolutely.
up.
그러면 박아야 될 것 같아. 박아도 돼. 얘가 가드가 길어서. 근데
yeah, that was a lovely shot from Team Peterson there.
여덟.
So many variables, so many possibilities here, and can never really say. It always depends. A good shot always depends on whether you make it or not. But,
Any shot is good if you make it. That's the truth.
but there are certain shots that give you higher probabilities. Ha playing a tough one here. I think she's trying to corner freeze and sit shot on this one, force Peterson to throw the takeout.
Yeah, as soon as Ha made that first wraparound draw, it was going to be a game of freezes at the end of the day. A game of freezes and a game of small bump backs, and that's what we're seeing.
라인 그대로. 라인 좋아.
So Kim's last rock.
라인 좋아.
Yeah, Ha's got 2 rocks left. Peterson's got 3.
수지 라인. 수지. 마니름이야. 스트라이크.
That's coming in all right. Maybe a little bit down.
He seemed to like the line.
It's always difficult when the shooter follows their rock down the ice.
근데 웨이트가 약하면은 그냥 왔어도 되는데. 근데
Well, she definitely did not want to be short on that one.
No.
It still could be very helpful to Ha
근데 닦아오고 있진 않아서 약간 만져오고 있어가지고.
because as long as it's in front of the tee line, it can always be tapped. Behind the tee line, it's definite advantage to Peterson. Closes up the ports too. Makes for difficult shots to draw around.
I don't mind that draw. I don't know if you want to make a play on that red. It's a tough one for Ha to run back because they run the risk of jamming that yellow on the red.
I agree. There's too much risk on that shot. You're forcing Peterson to go wide around this guard.
Yeah, I mean, a rock in the control zone is a rock in the control zone. Haw can bump it back if they want to. Probably would set up an easy double, but it's there for them to use.
It's the only sheet still going out there.
Corey Thies with her last rock in the 8th end, playing the intern.
They didn't jump it, but they do want to sweep.
약간 당겨줘.
Good shot. First and second shot for Peterson.
나도 이게 인턴으로 왔을 때는 되게 빠지게 보여서.
Spread apart pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good shot of the house there. Kind of get to see what the skip is seeing when they're standing in the house, and
인턴으로 왔을
Ha is seeing a potential freeze,
있거든.
potential come around.
것 같아. 이렇게 써도 되는 거야. 이건 그리고 더 떨어져도 괜찮긴 하거든. 아웃선. 8반.
Ha's still got both skip rocks to throw. And I'm thinking that come around freeze could be a good option for her first or second throw, really. If she wants to leave it there for her second shot, it's there.
Well, the defensive play would be to take that one out. But we were saying earlier on in the end that she likely wants to steal this end to win the game rather than to force it into an extra. This shot would help her a lot with that plan.
I think
But
just
she needs to make a good freeze, and it's an out-turn freeze through. It's not a huge port the way that it's bending.
yeah, and I agree. I think you want to. There's so many rocks in play at this point. I think you want to steal for the win, and I think the chance that Peterson could steal in the extra end is very high, just with the no tick rule and the 5 rock rule. So I think you definitely want to go for it here.
There's a little more room through the port than I had initially thought when they show up from that one angle. Okay, sweeper's rock now.
라인 좋아.
Inside sweeper starts on it. Hard clean.
라인 좋아. 너무 웨이트만 라인 좋아. 야! 자, 계속 가 라인.
Now it's getting the curl.
가야 돼. 아니 라인에 진짜 웨이트 계속 가. 계속 가야 돼.
Beautiful shot.
Yeah, that was amazing.
엄청 많이 꺾인다. 이게
It's just funny. I find some of the easier shots this game, we've been rubbing guards and coming up light and such, but these harder shots, these freezes, these hit and rolls, some of the harder shots you can play in curling, both teams have kind of found ways to clutch up and make those shots, which is, it says a lot about these teams, and it says a lot about how they've been, making world championships, making national championships. So,
So Peterson here has an opportunity to follow that rock down, and she can give it a little bit of a bump and be shot. That would put her in pretty good shape.
yeah, and it is behind the red guard. That helps too. It's frozen and guarded. And shot.
I don't know how much she can see. It looks like she could see enough on the outside to get rid of it. I'm not sure that that's exactly what she wants to do, but if she was able to get rid of everything over there, I think that would force Ha to probably play behind the corner guard to the left of the center line, which would give Peterson a very good opportunity for the win.
I think Peterson's in a bit of trouble here.
Last couple of ends, I think, have been very, very interesting, very well played.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of talking going on. I think this game has slowed down quite a bit, but I mean, there have been some complicated ends, and there is no timeouts in this competition, so teams
Time,
got to figure it out for themselves.
time for a stretch.
Yeah. I always would sit down when I was skipping and the other team was taking time to chat, and maybe that maybe that didn't look like the nicest thing to do, but in reality, all I wanted to do was sit down. So sometimes when you're standing out in the cold, 2.5 hour game, you just need to stretch, sit down, relax.
Well, I heard of one player in a club game one time. While the other skip was making up his mind, he went out to his car, got a sleeping bag, and rolled it down at the end of the sheet. I think that was a hint. I think trying to follow her down. And she can't afford to give this one a little bit of a tap and still be welded onto the Haw rock.
Line's good out of her hand.
Boy, I don't like it when they lift the brooms completely off the ice. It's nice to be able to give it a good clean all the way down.
Yeah, especially on important shots like this. When it looks like it's coming down a little bit short here.
Okay, well.
What do you do if you're Haw? Do you just plug that hole? Hope for the best?
Well, are we sure who is shot over there?
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Looks to me like it's red.
I want to say that it's red. I'm just wondering who. Obviously yellow is both second and third shot, but who is fourth shot? I'm pretty sure red is fourth shot. And the only reason that might ever come into play is if Peterson threw a rocket at that red, what they can see of that red, and tried to shoot it out the corner there, along with their yellow rock. But they are pretty locked on there, so you might need some big weight for that. But yeah, from here it looks like red is first shot, yellow is second shot, and third shot, and then to me it looks like red is fourth shot again. There's quite a few rocks biting the 8-foot there.
Well, and we were talking about that earlier in the game too, that now there would be a shot if, supposing that she wanted to play that. She's playing a totally different weight than anybody's played throughout the game. But she'd need to throw a howitzer at that in order to get the red to move completely out of the rings. She'd take out her own and roll out. My first inclination was that Gim would probably try, or sorry, that Haw would try and guard the in turn.
Yeah, it looks like they're talking about guarding that hole there, and I think I always say, if you guard the easy shot, make them play a harder shot, and if they make that hard shot, then good for them. They made it. Unfortunately, you can't stop every shot here. There's going to be multiple shots for Tabitha in this last rock, so really just taking away the hardest shot, I think, is what you want to do.
So looking at long guard, closing up that hole through the center.
It's interesting, though, through that hole, is there any way that Peterson can score 2? Is there any shot through that hole where Peterson could score 2 points?
Well, she'd have to move multiple rocks. Like hit something onto her own, onto something else.
Yeah, it seems to me like a ridiculously hard shot.
But some people say a guard is the toughest shot in bowling. It's not that easy in curling either. Okay, well, I've said that.
So you're saying I should practice my guards in bowling, and then it'll translate to the curling ice?
It's a tough shot. Yeah, I don't think bowling and curling mix.
이게 난 너무
The
여러
hand motion's too different.
Just before Hosh throws a shot, they are actually the last sheet on the ice here. Everyone else is left. Most of those games being blowouts. Some of them, I think almost all of them actually quit before the 8th end. So we are the last sheet out here, which is awesome. It means we picked the right sheet to live stream.
There you go.
림 부팀
Paul with her last rock here, throwing the intern, throwing the intern guard. Looks like it's coming up a little bit wide. Plan B. Plan B.
Okay, so what does that leave?
Goodness, if I know.
Well, she's got to remember, though, 1 point ties it.
I have another lost phone at the bar. Hopefully it's not the same one.
One's not that easy either. I'm not really seeing anything there for a deuce.
Yeah, even just a 1 is hard at this point.
If she throws the out turn and just skinnies by the two long guards,
Yeah.
she should get enough curl in there that at least bump off her own, which could give her a shot. Boy, talk about precise shots. So.
No kidding. Could you ever throw the out turn at that red that's half in the 12-foot and half in the 8-foot and jam it in? Yeah, I think that's what Tabitha's talking about. Jam it into the yellow and shoot that yellow sideways.
Boy, what a tough shot.
You can barely even see that red, but that might be there. Or play that in turn and just nudge that yellow that's that has that red frozen to it. Just nudge it in an inch, 2 inches.
I think you'd have to throw
I think, Jack, I like that red onto the yellow, and I think that's what they're kind of looking at right now.
Yeah.
This red here into that yellow, and
maybe
And just get the little bump into the 4-foot.
yeah.
yeah and maybe you get lucky going if you don't
Have to throw it pretty hard, I think. Oh, they're looking at a hole, I think Tabitha was saying. Maybe we'll turn up their mics a little bit so we could hear them, eh?
Well, that red into the yellow that you're talking about, that's an interesting shot, because if she threw some heat at that
Yep.
and just
Could
touches
spin
the
on.
yellow, it's got a nice angle at it. She could potentially, I mean, it's not an easy shot, but she could potentially get her deuce out of that.
Yeah, I actually do think that
yeah.
could be
And you're
there.
throwing
So what is she calling?
In the club games, the third would be holding out one arm, so we'd at least know which term.
Oh, wouldn't that be helpful for us, eh? And it looks like she's throwing the intern. Yep. Some decent weight. Probably about a 9. Trying to skinny through that hole.
oh
Wow.
Good try. Good try and a good win. Very well played, particularly the last two ends. All the game they played solidly, but the last two ends in particular, some beautiful shots.
Yeah, how crazy is that? That really just came down to the last two ends for Hod. They just capitalized on some misses, made a lot of really great shots, and managed to pull out a win. That game was really won in the last two ends there, won and lost. Anyways, we're gonna wrap things up here. That was obviously the last draw of the day, as it's bedtime. It's 11 o'clock here in Calgary, Alberta. We'd like to just thank all the sponsors, the live stream producers, the commentators. Jack, thank you for commentating with me.
And thank everyone who tuned in to listen and to watch. Hope we've given you some good entertainment here today. Didn't get an extra end in this game like several of the others, but it was a tight one.
And we should just mention, I know there were some people wondering, it looks like Gim won that game against Brown. Is that a good assumption to make?
We'll see if we can brought it up.
It is on Curling Zone. Those wanting to check out scores for the Autumn Gold Curlers Corner Classic, check it out on Curling Zone. We've got scores up there. Looks like Gim won that game.
7-5.
Yeah. We should be back tomorrow morning, so just keep an eye on our YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we're streaming every single draw, Sheet 5, so we'll hopefully have some good games tomorrow as we get into some playoff games tomorrow and some qualifier games tomorrow. So, yeah, thank you all for joining and commenting.
And good night, and come down and watch some incredible curling if you get the
Absolutely.
chance.
All right, thank you and good night.